now since we have understood the concept of CSS and how we can put it in our styles, let's quickly recreate everything, and let's go back and try to copy all the styles here. So we have this name, we are done with this section. Now we have 4 more items. This is a special item, so we will treat it in a special way, and then we have this switch. So let's first design these 3 items. Okay, so let's have this, and let's put all those 3 items into one div. Okay, and let's name it as start navigation sections. Okay, you can put any name, that is fine, but yeah, just try to be as specific as possible so it is better for you to read. And I think we can remove this one. This one is also not required. Again, here also we want it to be in horizontal row, so we can just use display flex, align item center, so that we have it all in center. And then we also want some gap among all these, so we can have a flex, not flex, row, column gap. Why column gap? We will understand this, but let's say we want to have it as 2 pixels. Okay, let's understand why column gap. Okay, so when you have flex items, so let's say 1 2 let's remove this one and let's have it here, and let's have it at one more place. Okay, and let's have one more element which is placed at the bottom, and I think I need to move these guys so I can make space for this one. Okay, so if you see, I think I should have copied the top 3 and would have pasted directly. That would have been easy, but anyways, so if you see like this, this particular gutter that you see here, this is the gap between this whole column and this whole column, so this is a column gap. However, this gutter, this one, is the gap between this whole row and this whole row, so that is why this is a row gap. So since we need the gaps between these elements, so we are using column gaps. Okay, I hope you're clear. If you're not, I'm just repeating it, try to understand. So let me see. Shape, diagram, line. Okay, I think there should be some drawing option, or let me try. Okay, so let's say we have a table like this, and here we have 3 items. How do I change color? Yeah, let's say this is my first, this whole thing is my first element, and then I have some gap. This is my second element, this thing, and then finally here I have my third element. So this is so if I go with, so this gap that you see, this whole gap and then this whole gap, this is the column gap. On the other hand, let's say if I had one more configuration where I had the same block, not this big, let's make it small. Yeah, and let's say this was my first item, then there was this gap. What happened? Okay, I think there was something wrong. Okay, so like let's say this was the first element, then this was the second element, and this was the third element. So in this case, the gap that you see, this gap, this whole gap, or this whole gap, this is the row gap, because these are 3 rows and this is the gap between them. Okay, so in our case, since we have column gaps, so that is why we are using column gaps as 2 pixels. Okay, and we have aligned item to center. So let's get back and let's have these items. So let's say we have what we can use h2 maybe, and let's see what all we have. We have about work experience blog. More is a special component, so we will treat it differently. About work experience and work experience and then blog. All right, so and by the way, if you are confused how I duplicated these, Control C for copying whole line and Control V for pasting it as many times as you want. Okay, so this is our and now you can see that this came in next line. Reason for this is that this header is still not styled, and to have it in one row, so let's style this also as a flexbox. Classes dot header. Here we will style this header, go back to modules and display flex. Okay, and by the way guys, when I am doing this, I would expect that you are understanding this, and please understand this and then do it on your own, because in that, if let's say you are looking at me and then typing around, then it will be really difficult and it will be hard for you to grasp the concepts. You should be knowing what you are doing here. Okay, that is very important. So pause the video, first look at the video as a whole, I would say, and then code along. This doesn't mean that you keep on seeing and understanding and then no code at all. That is also a bad strategy. So I will highly say that you look at the video, pause it, and then code after that. Okay, anyways, coming back, so display flex. Flex direction again is fine. We just need align items to center, because by default the flex direction is row only. So if I save this and go back, now all of these are in one line. Okay, now what I want is, I want these guys to take the maximum spacing. Okay, because if you see here, this, like if I draw it here, let's say, let me get my pen and let's go to another. Let's say this is my header. Okay, so this much space, let's say, is for logo, and what else, if I write it here, this is for logo and logo title. Okay, and then here if we come, this whole part, this is for navigation headers, like how we want to navigate. So for that we have this, let's say, and then finally at the end we have the toggle switch in a little space. So ideally what I will want is toggle switch. I would want this navigation headers to take as much space as possible. Okay, now we can hard code these, we can put percentages also, like 10% should be logo and logo title, toggle switch should be this percentage, and navigation header should be this percentage. However, to keep this dynamic, there is a property called flex to flex. Okay, and I think you will see it here also. Let me search flex. So yeah, you can see that this is the property, how you can set flex. This is a shorthand for flex grow and flex shrink. And what is flex grow and flex shrink? Basically, shrink is to shrink as small as possible, grow is to take the whole container. Okay, so if I just do here, if I go here, what I want is to set the flex to auto for navigation headers, so it should take as much space as it wants. Okay, so in that way we won't even need this column gap. I'll tell you why. So let's make it flex auto, and if I make it and save it, sorry, I just reformatted my CSS. Anyways, coming back, so, and if I put a border 2 pixel solid blue just to see, so you can see that it has taken the whole space for now. And now I want to distribute all these elements evenly to this whole space. So what I will do is justify content, which is a property in a flexbox, and I will do a space between. Okay, space between takes, like, now you can see this is exactly something what I would want. And if you want to play around and understand what exactly this property means, so let's go here, let's go to this div and let's change this, and let's see center, all of them are at center, end, all of them are end. All of these are self-explanatory, but let's go to them one by one. Let's take a look at these ones which are important. Space around is like, space around all of these, like take some gap at the first, then after first and second element put some more gap, second, third more gap, and fourth and final. They won't take they won't stick to the endpoints, there would be gap. Space between is different because it takes first, initial point as start point and end point as end point. And space evenly is again similar, you will see that all these if I put space evenly, you will see that these gaps, all of these are even. Okay, and the difference between space evenly and space around is that if I hover over, you will understand that gaps between elements are different than the gaps between the first element and the start point, basically the extreme points. So last element and the last point, and the first element and the start point. Okay, so you can play around with these properties. In our use case, we can use either space between or space evenly. Let's have space evenly. We will change it to space between, because we will be having other elements. In that case, it will not look that good, so we will use space between in that case. Okay, so I mean, I think let's have it right away, because we actually want space between only, and we want to have some extra gap between this feather and this component. So let's have a padding of this whole big container, this whole navigation container. Let's have the padding as so padding has different syntaxes. Okay, one way is to write padding as padding top, bottom, left, right. Let's quickly see all the different possible scenarios. So this is how you can specify padding: top, right, bottom, left. Or you can specify in this way also, for top, right, bottom, left. Then you have top, right, bottom, left, top, this is top, this is left and right, and this is bottom. And then two values is top and bottom, left and right. And then this is all four properties. So you can read through these things. There are a lot of ways to specify it, the one that based on these. So let's have padding. So what we will use is, we will use the second one, where it says top, bottom, and then left and right. So top, bottom we want 0, but left and right, let's say we want 15 pixels. So now if I show you, I go here, now you can see that there is a slight gap, although it is not visible. So let's inspect and then see. In that way we will be able to see it better. Let me make it 30 pixels. It's not letting me change this property, so let's quickly override this. So 0 pixels and then 30 pixels. So now you can see they are more closer, right? And let's say I want to make it 60 pixels, so it will become even closer. So what this does is, it adds these two paddings that you see here. Okay, so let's undo this, go back. So now we have added the padding, and we are done with the second element. So in next video we will try to look into the switch button. Okay, we will understand how we can create the switch button. That's all for this video. Thank you very much.